Our first presenter is from Crucial Data Solutions. Joining us is Cody Wilk. He is the Director of Quality Assurance. Cody will demonstrate Crucial Data Solutions TrialKit, the only eClinical platform with a native mobile app for seamless data capture and study management. TrialKit's advanced AI capabilities deliver powerful analytics and reporting, setting a new standard for efficiency and innovation in clinical trials. Welcome, Cody.
All right. Thank you very much, Perry. All right. I'm going to go in here. Thanks to everybody for joining. I'm looking forward to the discussion here and showing you what a little bit about TrialKit and seeing what some of the other attendees on this webinar have to present today. As Perry mentioned, my name is Cody Wilkie. I am with Crucial Data Solutions. The Crucial Data Solutions is the maker of the TrialKit platform. It's used on hundreds of active studies today by thousands of users around the globe. It's used in a wide variety of therapeutic areas and study phases. It's been in the industry as a study building and data collection platform since around 2010, for about 15 years now as a regulatory compliant cloud-based solution. TrialKit is an end-to-end platform. Just to skip over a couple slides here. It's used in IRT, trial master file. It has a great forms designer. I'll be showing you a little bit of that today. DICOM management, adjudication. But we're going to be focused for today, the scope of today will be focused on the 3 o'clock position there on the slides of ePRO and eCOA capabilities, kind of focused around the participant engagement side of things. And I'll look forward to showing you that here in a minute. Decentralized studies and the use of eCOA, it's really had a lot of growth in the last 5 years. In fact, today, some of the biggest and most innovative tech companies that we all know in device and therapy and drug are taking advantage of TrialKit to meet their objectives. And it's been a great tool for them. So again, look forward to showing you what we have here. With that, let me pull up my screen. But what I'm showing, what I'll be going through is the TrialKit platform on both an app and on the web browser. Again, focus more on just the eCOA and ePRO capabilities. But TrialKit, just out of the gates, it's a downloadable app on desktop, on iOS, on Android. That's what I'm on a Mac here currently, but it's also on a web browser. I'm logged into the TrialKit on my browser as well in the background. I'll kind of be showing those in parallel. And as you can see, just right up front before I even sign in, is it's accessed as an app by both participants and all the other study personnel, which TrialKit's generically referred to as clinician. So I'll get logged in as a clinician. I'll show you in a little bit more the participant side of things. So when we talk about eCOAs, where maybe participants on site and assessments being done with them directly versus when participants on their own, it can be used as a hybrid approach in that regard. So I'll log in as a clinician user here. It does support biometric login as well if you're on a mobile device, and that mobile device supports either Face ID or Touch ID. So login is very easy. I'm going to start here I think it's important when we talk about eCOA, assessments that are done need to be flexible. You need to be able to build exactly what you need for a given study, based on the data collection that's being done. And the forms designer in TrialKit really is the first step in that. There are, of course, form libraries, and a lot of great platforms out there have great form libraries with a lot of the assessments that you need already there and built. TrialKit has libraries, but it also gives you access to a very flexible forms design tool to ultimately have full control of what you want to collect. I'm going to spend just about 5 minutes on that, maybe not even, just give you a quick glimpse of some of the things you can do and collect before we then take a step into some different shoes and more look at more of the site level and when an eCO is being conducted, either on site or remotely. We'll look at it from that angle. I've got the form design tool open right here, and hopefully this is big enough. You can probably zoom in if you need to, but a toolbar along the left kind of gives a glimpse of the types of things I can put out on a form. And of course, I opened up right to a form. This is a health assessment questionnaire, HAQ, which is a standardized questionnaire that user puts responses in on questions, and those get scored. Over here on the right are some scoring fields that are happening. Some of these might be visible to the users, others might not be. You have full control of that. This is kind of an artist canvas in terms of what I can build. Each one of these things is an object on a page. I can move things around, and if I want to make these questions bigger, I can make that bigger, right? And move things around. It's all just drag and drop. But I can scroll to the kind of to an empty area here and drag out some other fields. I can do things like collect scales, and I can manipulate the text and the actual scale measurements on the properties there. I can get rid of that one momentarily, pane scales, standardized scales like that. I can even collect audio and video, which come in really handy. We're seeing a growing popularity with that in terms of during an assessment, something needs to be recorded, either video and audio, or just audio. So you can capture audio recordings. Audio recordings can even be done as part of outcomes, for participant data entry. So all these things that I'm dragging out on a page are data that can be collected. And again, the toolbox here along the left gives you an idea of some of the different things you can collect. One neat one in device studies is participants are going in and scanning a barcode. So there's a little barcode scanner that opens up the device's camera to scan those in. But this just gives you a general sense of how do-it-yourself this forms design tool is. But again, there are out-of-the-box questionnaires to help people get started as templates. And many of those include, when it comes to eCOA, there's FACT scales, PHQ-9s, EQ5Ds, classes, just depending on the therapeutic area. There's dozens of them available. Yeah. So let's take a look at a few examples outside of the forms design tool, more looking at the data entry side of things. So with that, I'm going to jump into, just in my main menus here at the top, into what we generically call the subject manager. So this is a list of subject IDs or participants in this study. And I can just open up one here, and it opens up to their casebook of whatever's being collected. There's some sort of a visit schedule of forms that are being collected over time. Some are repeating, some aren't. You can see some examples of eCOAs down here. And these are mixed into a standard clinical trial setting. This might be like a phase 3 that's collecting standard things like labs and demographics and physical exams, but it's also got some participant entered data, or eCOAs like this classy form down here, or this quality of life survey. In fact, I can open up the quality of life right from here if I'm doing that directly with the participant. There's a couple different ways participant data can be entered. If it's something that's being done in a sitting with the participant on site, TrialKit actually has a handoff mode. So the sites normally, when they enter data, they're going to come in through a casebook setting, kind of like this, where they're accessing a visit schedule and forms that are due over time. But if I back up one screen, there is a handoff mode where I can enter, and it pulls up a list of all the subjects, and it tells me basically at this point in time what's due for each participant, or how much is due. Because what's due for a participant at a given point in time might be different than what the site has to enter. So this is what's due for the participant. I can drill into that, and here I can see there's 4 things that the participant fills out. There's some examples of assessments here, but the participant has access to all this directly too, remotely, if the study supports that. So it doesn't have to be done, by the site in this format that I'll show here, but the participant can log in through the app too. You saw that earlier on the login screen. I can log in as a participant, and then this is what they see. So I'm pulling my phone over on the screen here, and participants, of course, get notified, email, push notification, text message as things become due to fill out, and then they can just drill right in and fill out whatever's due. So again, this is more the participant's view, but the same essentially in terms of, I'm going to open up, something that's due to fill out, and it looks a little different here on the phone because I'm in dark mode on the phone, but it does support dark mode. Whatever that assessment entails, in this case, SF36 is just pretty standard multiple choice questions across various tab groups, and that can all be split up the way the study requires or that the assessment requires. Another example is like this EQ5D. I'll come in as the site user, as though the participant is sitting with me. Now, to clarify what I'm doing right now, I'm in handoff mode, I didn't really describe what that meant earlier, and that is I've handed this device off to the participant because they're physically with me, and I'm now kind of locked in to this screen. I can't exit the app. I can't do anything without signing back in as the clinician. So it's the participant that's filling this out, like in this case, maybe on a tablet or on a laptop computer. Entering questions, whatever those are. You can see their scores, that happen, and those will happen automatically when the form is saved. That's just based on how this form is designed. So this form's kind of splitting up questions one by one. But again, you saw the forms design tool earlier and how flexible that can be. And here it's making me log back in because I was in handoff mode. So we don't want the clinician going back and accessing other participant casebooks. A quality of life survey, again, just showing a few examples of forms that can be collected. You can do say handwritten signatures on forms, collect scales. I think we have an example of one of those in maybe this HAQ down here at the bottom. Collect scoring scales on, whatever range is needed. But ultimately, I have access to that full casebook and any other assessments that are required that aren't necessarily accessible by the participant directly. There's something that's more just filled out by the site. Some neat examples would be, I've always liked not that one, the Classy. This is kind of more visually involved with some neat little graphics and descriptives. And a lot of these assessments are really strict. The authorship requires certification. They have to be laid out and appear in a certain way. And you can see an example of that. I'll just enter a few responses here just randomly. And you can see, scores that get generated at the bottom based on responses. Again, I normally wouldn't have to click those. The save process auto computes any scoring that's done. And as far as the scoring goes, the sky's the limit. I mean, you can plug in whatever the formulas require, certain conditions of, what the different choice fields are worth. You can do cross-form logic too. You can pull in scores from other assessments to play into the factoring of the scores on this assessment. And again, that's all done within the forms design tool. Just exit here. Forms are collected by sites, not just, in a handoff mode. They're collected, again, just to kind of recap, they're collected by participants directly on their own phones. And it might not be as simple as, hey, I've just got forms that I need to fill out at a given point in time. It could be activities or health metrics that I want to pull as well. So if a study's collecting wearable data, it'll actually collect to, a Fitbit or Apple Health, depending on which wearable platform is being used for the study, which is predetermined. But that can all be set up, pulled in automatically into the study database. Popular metrics that are used today in active studies ongoing are sleep metrics, activity in terms of daily steps or hours sitting, can all just be pulled right into the database natively through the TrialKit app with just a toggle of a switch in the study configuration. Participants can also access assessments as they're done. Over time, they can see their own compliance, and this participant here doesn't have any diaries due at this time. They only have some scheduled assessments that are due, which they haven't done, so their compliance right now is 0. But it does track that compliance level, and sites can see that compliance over time across the study through various reports. And here's a quick example of one of those. The diary compliance report, and again, my participant there didn't have any due. Exit that screen, and that wraps up again touching on the eCOA capabilities of what the TrialKit platform can do, and a little bit of the ePRO as well. There's a lot of extensibility on scheduling of forms and when things come due at certain points in time based on certain trigger events that happen throughout the course of the study. So it's very flexible to set up in that regard. With that, thank you for listening. And again, there is just a quick poll question, kind of gauging what platforms people prefer to use, if it's apps like the one I've been showing here, or of course the web browser. I didn't really show that as we went, but all the same capabilities are available from a web browser. And this system also supports full API integrations as well. So if data needs to be brought in from other platforms into those assessments, or even assessments need to be automatically created, it can all be done through integrations. All right, that wraps it up. And again, thank you everybody for taking a look at TrialKit's eCOA capabilities.
Thank you, Cody. Do your standard forms, are they in accordance with CDISC?
The standard library forms are, yes. Okay, of course, users are able to pull those forms into their own library, and at that point, they can be manipulated and changed, but the ones available in the standard form library are.
Okay. So I'm going to try to, there's another interesting question. You mentioned library. So do you support questionnaires, libraries, repositories? This seems to be, there are some standard ones that often require licensing that is often a barrier to clinicians trying to use those tools. Can you support that?
Crucial Data Solutions does not obtain the licensing directly, no. So we provide form templates that can be used. Many of those are licensed questionnaires that in order to actually utilize in a data collection in a live study would need to be separately licensed by the study sponsor.
Okay, and can you talk a little bit more about integration with wearable devices? Can you do that?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, in any study, we like to show, and so just talk about it, but I think I'm still sharing my screen. Different wearable metrics can just be turned on. I was kind of speaking to this a little earlier, like maybe I'm only collecting data from Apple Health, folks on iPhones with their Apple Watches, and I can dictate that, or I can just keep it kind of open for certain metrics. And these are what you see here are just the list of metrics that are supported today out of the box. We're always adding to them, but certain things that I want to collect from these platforms can be pulled directly into the subject's casebook and their data.
Thank you for being with us. Cody Wilkie from Crucial Data Solutions.